He has time.
He's
Off
got
the
him.
left side. Dobbs is there. Leaping grab. Touchdown. Touchdown.
Good morning, everyone. It's Monday. It's Ken and Ken in the morning. I've got, of course, my partner in crime, Ken, with me, and Isaac. And we've got our favorite Falcons fan. He'll be here momentarily. Good morning, Ken. How's this fine Monday morning?
Oh, it's a pretty good morning going on here. We're getting some information starting to trickle in from the NFL. So I think we're
What?
good. Yeah, finally. I know. After this past week or two of dead weeks, we finally got some news.
Well, yesterday, Isaac, I had to break the news to Woody that, on House Hall, it's the first Sunday without football. So I know you probably have a huge hole in your heart from yesterday, don't you?
Oh, definitely. I mean, man, is this my wife is actually more happy because I have Sundays more open now to go out and do stuff. I was like, oh, you're always watching football. Well, yeah, it's football.
Yeah. Football. Good morning, Chad. He's a Bears fan from New York. Good morning to you, Chad. So another New Yorker on there with Ken. I think you guys aren't that far from each other, if I remember where Chad is correctly. So hey guys, today is a first for us. We are on Roku this morning. We have transitioned over to the Roku side of the house with the morning show every Monday morning. Of course, we're on Bill the Packer fan. We're on House. We're on Chicago Bears News, Mike the Bear fan, Frozen Tundra Network, of course, and on the YouTubes. But we are now on Roku every Monday morning. So we will go for an hour today and have a hard stop, which will be interesting for us in the mornings.
Yeah.
Format. We hope you like the new video. We hope you like the new background. There's some more changes coming. But yeah, we got an hour of good talk. We got mostly Green Bay and Bears fans on here. We've got, of course, our resident Falcons fan. But we'll aim to talk more NFL centric stuff. But we're definitely NFC North Bears, Packers centric with a flair of Falcons. You like that? A flair of Falcons.
Falcon.
Playoffs. So, hey, we are not in free agency yet, but guys, we've seen some movement already. The Lions signed some guy from the CFL that no one's really talking about, so we won't talk about it either. I think Lions fans think he's the next coming of Montez Sweat, Julius Peppers, and Lawrence Taylor combined, but he's from the CFL. The Bears have cut Eddie Jackson and Cody Whitehair, which we talked about last Friday for a bit, and made some cap space. Now having the fourth highest cap money available. I've seen the number start at 60. Now yesterday I saw it was 70 million. I'm like, whatever. Ken, I love it when we talk like, oh, teams have X number. We do it too. Don't get me wrong. But GMs have that little magic.
Yep. Especially here in Green Bay with Russ Ball. There's been so many times we hear, oh, this can't be done, that can't be done because you're just too tight against the cap. And all of a sudden, magically, right before the deadline, it gets done. But
Yep.
Green Bay's also got a little bit of news that
Yeah.
Nixon, Savage, and Nyman, their contracts, since they had future contracts, are now going to be coming off this year because there was no new deal by midnight today.
Yeah,
So
we'll probably get a couple of those. Well, that's going to
they might not be back because now they're counting against the cap already.
So we might see some other cap casualties in the next week or two. We're definitely going to see with the combine starting this week, and we're going to see some franchise tagging. I I love how the NFL did this. It used to be you have the Super Bowl and there was a barren wasteland for like a while. And now the Super Bowl happens and you don't even have to wait a week and there's a flurry of stuff. And we all know that after the draft, usually you used to get the flurry at June 1st cuts, but last year was kind of like, and nothing happened, and then nothing to camp. And camp was kind of lame last year as far as a flurry. I mean, it was lame, but it wasn't. It was lame in the sense that with the new rule last year, you didn't get any cuts every week. Like all the cuts were after the final week. So it kind of made it harder to judge certain things because guys weren't getting cut, which was good for them because that gave them more looks, right? But it gave us a lot less to talk about.
Yeah.
But at least the NFL is doing that. And of course, now we're starting to get into the throes of free agency. It's like we said, Cody Whitehair, a free agent already. Eddie Jackson, a free agent already. And we're going to talk about a group where we know we've got at least one other guy who's definitely a free agent because he said he's not going to re-sign with his last team. And they said, hey, you know what? Thank you for everything we've done, but peace out, my homie. So I guess we can get into it, Ken. Free agent running back, right? So now look, the list here, obviously, some of these guys, Derrick Henry is the guy I alluded to, who we know is not going back to the Titans. He said he won't resign, and the Titans said, thank you very much, and if this is your wish, we'll let you go. Look at the rest of this list. Hey, and good morning, Dominic. Oh. Good morning, Dominic. So, Dominic's on the show. You guys can't see it right now because you have the graphic up, but so this is a list of potential free agents, right? So, could Saquon get re-signed? Josh Jacobs, I know there's been news on the Raiders wanting to retain him. We know Derrick Henry for a fact is going to be a free agent. But when you look at this list, guys, Dominic, you just walked in. You're secure at running back, obviously with Bijan. But if you could sign one of these guys to pair with Bijan, who would you want?
Ooh, I like Saquon. Saquon Barkley. Bijan has the move Saquon has when Saquon came in to the league and everything. I'm really a big fan of Josh Jacobs from how he came into the league. It started slowly until last year where he broke, he had the most rushing yards in his whole career and touchdowns. But I like DeAndre Swift. I would pick up Swift because he had a career year last year. Saquon, he's getting up there in age. Derrick Henry is also up there in age, but he's still a producer for being in the league for so long and under the Titans. But I don't know. Number 6, DeAndre Swift is he's a rare talent. He looks good if someone would want to pick somebody up. Saquon, and then I feel like Saquon wants the money.
I
wouldn't be because of how he produced and everything, and the same with Josh Jacobs.
Ken, how about you with the Packers? Because you guys are losing AJ Dillon, right? He's going bye-bye.
Yeah, AJ Dillon's. From what I've seen, the writing's on the wall that he's going to be gone. Or if he's brought back, it's going to be as a reduced role, like a goal line type of thing. To me, it looks like they're going to be getting somebody else. Now, dream scenario, I'd want Josh Jacobs, but there ain't no way in hell we're going to sign him for what he's going to want.
No.
But I would be more than happy if we added Zach Moss to the team with how he filled in for Taylor, right? Yeah. He looked pretty good, so I would not mind pairing him with Aaron Jones because we know Jones, at least the past couple of years, has been missing games with injury. So you want to have somebody capable, and A.J. Dillon most certainly was not that this past year. Now, Isaac, since you're a Packer too, we might as well go right next to you.
Yeah, I would say Zach Moss as well. I would like Swift, but he has a little injury history, so you don't want 2 injured running backs on the thing. You know what I mean?
Gotta go to your practice squad.
Yeah, right. Saquon, I think the Giants tag him one more time. You know what I mean? There's no way. If you look at the team, the Giants team, there's no way they let Saquon walk, especially, having a guy like Daniel Jones running, You know what I mean? You got to have Saquon on that team.
Yep.
And then Jacobs, I think the Raiders tag him and try to bring him one more. I think Ken, the Bear fan, alluded to that anyways, that he's coming back to the Raiders possibly for one more year. Why not play for Antonio Pierce? Antonio Pierce is a great motivator. But, yeah, Zach Moss really looks like a really good player to pick up if the Packers are going for that. But the way the Packers, I think, are going to go for, I think they're going to draft a running back.
Yeah.
There's the good running backs coming out of this draft. That I
That's
don't.
what I think too.
Yeah. And then if you look at that list, a lot of those players are pretty much aging, right? Like Derrick Henry's aging, Ezekiel Elliott's aging. You know what I mean? Pollard. I like Pollard. But we saw him as the main back. It kind of like he took a step back. He's got speed. He can gash you, but we kind of see him take a step back, getting that leading role. But I guess being a backup role is not too bad for him. I mean, when Ezekiel Elliott was the main back for the Cowboys, Pollard really took off. So maybe that's a possibility. Looking at Pollard. And I've seen Pollard been mentioned around Green Bay circles, like in the media or Green Bay media, talk about Pollard. So if we could come up with a good deal for him, like, Ken, the Bear fan, showed the Packers cap room, I think a couple times on a live show. So we saw where our cap is. But, if we can cut Bakhtiari like we've discussed, we can have money possibly for a Pollard. But if we're going to use that money, though, I think we're going to go for other areas like safety, because we have a fourth string safety right now. That's the only thing signed. So
and Robert makes a good point. Robert says, hey, well, first he says, good morning, fellas. Good morning, Robert. Wish you're on with us this morning. But he says, hey, we draft our running backs. And, for Green Bay with the cap situation we looked at last week, I think drafting a running back like Isaac said and Ken alluded to makes sense. For the Bears, I like our running back room as is. I mean, but the problem, we like to run 3 now, not 2, right? We had the 3-headed monster last year in Chicago. It looks like Deontay Foreman fell out of favor because he was a healthy scratch for like the last 3 games. Didn't even suit up. I like this for the Bears. You guys said, yeah, he's getting old, but man, Dominic said it. He produces, and I don't need Derrick Henry to be an every down back. So with Roschon back there and Herbert back there, I don't need him to be an every down back, and he can be huge impact for the kind of money I spent last year for a guy who was okay, but he's not Derrick Henry. So if the Bears were going to sign anyone at running back, that would be my vote. Would be Derrick Henry. Because, he's still a baller. Now, the guy who's interesting, though, is Swift, number 6 here. For any of our teams, to include maybe the Vikings, we don't have a Vikings fan here, but I'm sure the Vikings might like to take a Swift would be nice.
Replace Madison.
Well, and he was a Lion.
Yeah,
the Lions jettison him because they pick up and they had a good draft last year. They're like, well, we don't need him. He goes to Philly, still shows that, look, Detroit, you made a mistake. You should have kept me. But he would be a good option, too, for a North team, especially if, let's say, like Chicago, for instance, Herbert's probably good between the 20s for sure. Roschon is probably a good, red zone back, but Swift is a red zone specialist.
Yeah, he is.
I do really like Swift, but like Isaac had mentioned earlier, he's too often injured for me to want to pair him with Aaron Jones, because there would be weeks I'd be worried we're going to be without both of them, to where Swift is very dynamic, just like Jones, but he's not a guy that you can count on to be there every single game.
And then we have to plug in all reliable Patrick Taylor. The guy
God,
off the team.
Did Swift miss any time last year, though? I don't think Swift missed any games.
I
don't think he did he?
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought he did.
Yeah, I think he missed a couple games. and with a couple of injuries, nagging injuries. But like for the most part, yeah, he played most of the season for the Eagles, but I think he did miss a couple games there.
What's
I just
interesting is you have two Ravens on this list, and the Ravens look at if the Ravens are letting both these guys go, I don't think many teams are going to pick them up because here's why. They had no running game minus Lamar Jackson. So, so I think actually the team that's going to be hunting that we're going to be bidding against for running back the hardest is going to be the Baltimore Ravens. So, yeah, I mean, Dobbins didn't do much for him last year. I mean, really, they had no running game. I think Devin Singletary would be great in Baltimore. I think, though, that the Texans are going to be hot to retain him, but Baltimore needs a running back. So, I could see Henry going there because Henry wants to win a championship, and we know they're a championship-ready team. Pollard could go there. Eckler would be, or Swift, or a combination, depending on where they're at on money. But I think, the one thing we got to think about here is both of Baltimore's running backs are on that list. And Baltimore had no running game. So two things. One, I don't want any of those guys from Baltimore because they have no running game. And we know they got a line because they protect Lamar, and Lamar can, is getting run. But in the running back position, they weren't getting much of anything.
especially all good.
And two, Baltimore's probably going to be spending on a running back. So that's our competition for sure.
Especially Dobbins. What did he tear his ACL twice? Like,
that's what I was going to mention.
You got to let him walk after that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's 2 injuries back to back. No, that's
the thing. That's the thing, Dominic. I don't think he can walk with 2 injuries.
Oh, you make jokes, hey.
No, but
like that was good.
the DeAndre Swift, Isaac, we are wrong. He did not miss any games this year, but there were a few games where he barely had any attempts. And that's might have been what we were thinking of.
I think that's what it was. He was basically injured and tried to play through it, and then you know what I mean.
Yeah, because there was one game he had 1 attempt, another one with 6.
Yeah.
I mean, so Swift though is the guy though. If you're a team like maybe not Green Bay because basically he's going to be number 2, but if you're a team like Chicago, where he can be number 3 on the depth chart and be more situational, he could be an option for the Bears. As well as, say, a Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry, if you put him on, he's obviously 1 or 2 on your depth chart. You might make him 2 just so you don't have to use them every down. And you got, I mean, I think we all agree Khalil Herbert's a more than serviceable running back. But, that might be a situation for like a guy like Swift where he could be number 3 behind Roschon Johnson, behind Khalil Herbert. Maybe he'd be more suited for a team like the Bears, where he doesn't have to be number 1 or number 2. And for Green Bay, he'd have to be number 2, which means he'd have to see significant field time, especially if the big guy goes down.
Yeah. If I were the Bears, I would kick the tires on Derrick Henry. Why not? Yeah. I mean, you guys have a really good run block rate with your O-line. You know what I mean? So, I mean, putting Derrick Henry and Khalil Herbert behind the line, I mean, that kind of pushes aside Roschon. But, hey, when you got Derrick Henry on your team, there's no way you Roschon over him, and then Khalil Herbert, how he came on before Montgomery left. There's no way Roschon surpasses him, but Roschon could be that one kind of the back where he passes out of the backfield type of thing. He could be that type of running back for you guys, kind of that. I
think we'll see more of Roschon this year. Like he outperformed Bijan in their head-to-head. That was a fun game. He outproduced Bijan.
I was surprised. I was like, this dude was just running all over us. Like,
I mean, but look, credit to the Texas Longhorns because they got 2 running backs drafted to the NFL last year, Bijan and Roschon, right?
Isn't that crazy?
Roschon but like anywhere else in the NCAA, if Roschon had gone anywhere else, he would have been the everyday starter. Right. But no, he went to the same school as Bijan, who was probably the decade recruit. Right.
Yeah. Your generational talent.
And you're like, he's like crap. But I think in the end of the day for the Bears, he's gonna be like the steal of that draft last year because we got him like in the 5th, 6th round, something like that. We got him late, and I can see him as a 2 and eventually being the 1 in Chicago. He's good at blocking, like I
Yeah,
said. Though, he can catch out of the backfield.
Yep.
He is more of a north-south bruiser than Herbert is. Herbert's a little more finesse.
He's the thunder
so-
in the
yeah,
equation.
yeah, it's like
And,
thunder and lightning.
Herbert
Yeah.
is the like the Falcons. Bijan's the lightning, and you got Tyler Algier, who's the thunder. So
No, Bijan is
Downhill
thunder,
thunder.
lightning, tornado, hurricane.
hurricane, you got a rainstorm coming.
Yeah, I was high on Bijan last year. I would not have been mad if we drafted him.
I loved him, but Arthur Smith. As I said, I'm glad he's gone. But Arthur Smith did not know how to use him. Like, how are you going to use?
Yeah.
How are you going to scratch him for a game when he was healthy and everything? Because you're in your feelings.
Right.
That's exactly it.
That's
Right.
Arthur Smith for you. He's not using his talent. That's why they only won 7 games 3 years in a row. You're not using your talent to their maximum potential. You're looking for guys you had back when you were in Tennessee to get, their career stat. No. You draft guys so you can use them so your team can win. Those are generational talented people, and you don't just be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna pass the ball to Kyle Pitts twice a game, Drake London once a game, and that's not great. Bijan Robinson rushing twice a game. You got Tyler Algier rushing 12, 15.
Yeah.
No, that's not how
Yeah.
you use
Yeah,
people.
that's the other thing I don't get is Kyle Pitts and Drake London are both over 6'3". And you're passing them the ball. You know what I mean?
They ain't dropping.
Arthur Smith should be locked up for how he used freaking Pitts.
Oh, yeah.
That guy has so much freaking talent
Too much.
and barely ever would get targets.
Hey,
He's
well,
a generational talent.
I don't know if you guys
tight end.
heard though. Kyle Pitts was injured too during the season. Arthur Smith made him play while he was injured.
Oh jeez, no, I didn't hear
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, he was injured. He came out and said he's like, I was injured basically the whole season. And if you've seen like the games later on, like probably week 12 and everything, you can see Kyle Pitts exploding and everything. His route running got better and all of that. But because I was wondering, I'm just like, why is he slow? Why can't he run a route?
So let me address
Ooh.
Billy, the defense guy, Flores. If you guys don't know Billy Flores, he does all the tailgating he tailgates at Soldier Field for every home game. Billy, defense guy. You guys, I know you guys have all seen him on TV and otherwise. All right, so Billy's one of those guys. All right, Billy. Billy's dream scenario is that we get Mike Evans and we get Derrick Henry. And there is talk. I saw it as well this morning with Mike Evans. So I don't want to segue out of running back. So I'll bring this up quickly and we'll go back to running back. There is news on the Mike Evans talk that him and the and Tampa are not close on a contract. And that Tampa now, if they don't get a contract done by today, I think it's today or tomorrow, kind of like what happened with a couple Packers Ken mentioned, there's going to be money dealt, put out that now is going to be a cap hit. So Mike Evans talk is there. Mike Evans, though, is like probably still at 18 to 20 some $1 million a year wide receiver. Billy really wants him in Chicago. I love you, Billy, but no. Because I don't think we have the money.
That's like
There's the money.
there's a lot
would.
of Packers fans clamoring for him. And don't get me wrong, he's an outstanding receiver, extremely productive, Mr. Consistent. But
money.
not even just that. I'm not even too worried about the money. It's his age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Injuries
though,
and everything start to set in.
with Mike Evans, though, man, the dude's like T.O. Like, guy just doesn't age. Like T.O. said the other day, he could come back and play at 50. And you know what? Have you looked at T.O. lately?
Jeez,
T.O.
man.
He might look. He might still look the part, but there ain't no way in hell some 50-year-old guy, even T.O., is keeping up with these monsters now.
Dude, I know, but like his 40 time is still faster
ridiculous.
than so. Dude, he's still faster than guys who are currently playing.
Yeah.
I mean, T.O. is he's always been a human specimen. Like,
Yeah.
if aliens came and said, show us a specimen, hi, meet Terrell Owens. I mean,
If I were
Billy
going to talk to the Bucks about a wide receiver, I would go after Godwin.
Yeah.
Godwin is definitely. I mean, even though Godwin has a little injury history with him, Godwin's a sure-handed wide receiver. Like he's always making plays.
Yeah, but Evans is going to be a free agent. Godwin isn't. But also, guys, I want to say, let us know in the chat, of the list of running backs, and I'll throw them back up again. Of the list of running backs, who would you want your team to sign? Also, let us know what team you're repping when you tell us, hey, I want DeAndre Swift, and I'm a Chargers fan or whatever you may be, let us know. It is interesting. He retired a long time ago, Chad.
Mike Allstott, man, that guy was a beast.
I've got an Allstott helmet, but he retired a long time ago, Chad. And I know, Billy, that you had to. Like I said, look, we all know that's one of Billy's dream scenarios, and I love Billy. It is a dream scenario. If money wasn't an option, if we could all be the New York Yankees and say, "Oh, there's a cap, we'll just pay the fee." Right.
Yeah. If that was the case, I'd say go sign Henry and draft a running back. Let's load this bitch right up.
Yeah,
one running back we talk about on that list is Devin Singletary. He had a pretty resurgent year with the Texans.
Yeah,
he did well. So
would you think the Texans would want to keep him, Isaac? Because I mean, dude, they just made a playoff push, won the division. Wouldn't you want to keep him if you're them?
I think so, but then if you look at where the Texans are going, they're drafting now, and they're really developing a lot of these players. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they picked up Tank Dell, off the draft, and before he got injured, he was awesome as a wide receiver. And then Nico Collins, and, you can see what they're trying to do. They're going more for the draft, so I think they could possibly let Singletary go and pick up running backs off the draft. And
I hate to give Detroit some cred here, but I have to. Detroit did it. The Bears are in the process of doing it. The Texans are now doing it. You see the way that they built Detroit. You see the way they're building the Bears.
Yeah.
That's the new blueprint. Again, it's a copycat league, but it's also a cyclic league, right? This is how you used to build teams 10, 20 years ago. Then it became you build teams by drafting superstars, right? And now you go to where Chicago is. Look at the defense. That Bears defense that really turned the corner last year, went from being worst against the run to best in the league against the run. Where they were bad against the pass, they're really good against the pass. That backfield, defensive backfield, is all second-year players now, right? I mean, you got rid of Eddie Jackson. He was a tenured guy. That's all second-year. Brisker and all those guys. They're second. They're coming into their third, right? They're going to be third-year players.
Green Bay's doing the same thing.
Yeah, Green Bay's doing the same thing.
Yeah, Alexander's pretty much the only elder statesman there, because it looks like the writing's on the wall that Savage is going to be gone.
It's teams are building through youth, and we saw last year was sent the shockwaves was how the running back market, like last year when Saquon and Josh Jacobs were free agents, dude. If that had been the year before, they would have gotten 25 mil easy. It would have been no problem. Last year though, NFL teams like, nah, man, 10 mil. Like we saw the tight end market and the running back market crash dollar-wise.
Yeah.
But we also saw the quarterback market, Danny Dimes getting 45 mil a season, right? We saw that. But I mean, there's a reset, and teams are realizing, okay, quarterbacks tend, if I get a good quarterback, like I think okay, well, we may get in the Fields later, but for assumption here, we're saying Fields is staying a Bear, Fields is going to be good, okay? Because I know I think that. But anyways, we're seeing teams like where the Packers say, hey, Love, the Bears say, hey, Field, hey, Goff. In Detroit, those guys stay 10 years. Quarterbacks stay in the league. If you get a good one, 10, 15 years, easy. Running backs, dude, after their rookie contract's up, see ya.
Yeah.
Bring in the next guy, and the production doesn't slip.
Yeah, I think what it is too is that Lions actually did a good thing this season. Oh, finally they get a compliment here. Is that Browns set the trend on putting two running backs as workhorses, like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, right, next to each other, and then we tried to do that trend with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. One season, they both got over 1,000 yards. AJ Dillon fell off now, but then now you've seen this season with Gibbs and Montgomery, right? I think more teams will try to put running backs together and and balance their offense, because I mean, even though it's a passing league, right, you have to have that balance with the run, or else your offense is going to go nowhere. You know what I mean? You're going to run into that team where they shut down your passing. Now what are you going to do, right? And that's what teams want to gear for, is not only get far into the season, they want to have success in the postseason. And by doing that, you have to have a successful run game to keep defenses honest, or else you're gonna just like the Cowboys, right? Pollard fell off, and then their offense didn't take off in the playoffs against us because all we had to do is put Dak in that position where he had to throw the ball, and we just stopped them from there. So I think teams will more realize that they need two running heads. They need two-headed monsters because once one running back goes down, the other running back takes over.
Well, and to your point, Isaac, I think that the Cowboys really showed that first when you had Pollard and Zeke. The problem was Zeke was on a massive contract, and then Pollard got a massive contract, and you couldn't keep two stud running backs. So what happened? I think Jerry Jones is the one who reset the running back market when he let Zeke walk and said, "We're just not going to pay you because, we're not going to pay a guy $20 million a year."
Well, it also helps that at that time that Pollard was performing better than Zeke.
Yeah. That as well, but but that kind of also set a market trend because he gave Pollard a big contract. The next year Zeke is up. It's like, guys, we can't pay running backs like this. Something's got to change. And then what did Zeke do in New England this year?
Not
too much. Yeah. It's almost like these big name guys at running back. They're awesome for the first 4, 5, 6 years they're drafted, and then absolutely come back down to just you're an average running back now.
Yeah,
well, look at Derrick Henry though. His production, as I said earlier, he's been doing it for 10 plus years.
I was going to say he's an outlier.
Like,
so
there's some running backs who do deserve the money. I say,
but Derrick Henry, he'll still get $5 to $6 million a year. He's not going to get 20. And he's one of those guys but you know what though? He's a throwback to like when guys we got another slide we'll bring up here in a minute. But you got guys like AP who were in the league forever. You got another certain guy who started a career in San Francisco and played for almost 20 years as well.
I was going to say, AP, he's not even just an exception. Yeah. That man was part freaking machine. Yeah. He'd hear every single time an announcer would mention him, they'd have to say on how they shook hands with him, and he damn near crushed them. This guy was a special way.
Yeah, but these were guys, like some of these guys back in the day were guys like, and we got guys that we don't talk about much that we should, like Matt Forte was in the league for over a decade, but that was a time and era where running backs were in the league for over a decade. Now running backs are in the league for basically 5 to 6 years, and most of them are out. And I know we don't want to shift off running backs, but Mike, the Bear fan, makes a good point here, right? So he says the Bears will make a big splash in free agency this year. Could be edge rusher, center, or safety. And so, I want to bring that comment in because we're talking about running backs today, but Mike's point is good here because teams aren't going to spend the money on running backs. They're going to spend the money on an edge. They're going to spend the money on a safety or a corner. That's where teams are going to spend their money. They're not going to put $15 million on a running back when they can put $15 million on Chase Young and pressure a quarterback and stop the run. So I think that's a key point too that Mike kind of brings up without knowing he's bringing it up. Like, this is a good list of running backs, but how many of these guys would you really want to give $10 million to when you've got guys who can, edge rushers that out there that you probably are more impactful,
especially the draft with these running backs coming in. Like, you got Braylon Allen, you got Corum, you got, you got Trey Benson, you got a lot of good running backs, Marshawn Lloyd, so for the market that you see, a lot of those players are aging, right? So you go for a young, you don't have to pay basically, a draftee anything, and you save a lot of money. Now, Bears in a good position money-wise to possibly go after a good running back, right? That's off a free agent list. But a lot of teams don't have that. Like, Packers don't have that luxury where we can go after, a high-priced running back because of our cap. So we're definitely going to go draft-wise. But, it's a good point. Well, we can look at some of these guys, Zach Moss and stuff like that. But
unless their market somehow floors out and nobody else wants them, I don't think we're going for them.
No, I don't think
you can get the Goot special where they're sitting on the couch first. That's what you get them. Otherwise, nah, we're good.
But you know what? You look at this list, some of these guys might be on the couch.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Jake
because
Dobbs
I
is
see
for
Dobbs
sure.
and-
Well, Goody's waiting for him. He's already got their phone that's next to the couch already dialed.
like Dobbins, he could be on the couch because of his injury issues last year and the amount of money he probably wants. Eckler won't be on the couch, but Eckler is not going to be a 20 million a year guy either.
Mhm.
Pollard might not either. So I mean, Derrick Henry, though, we know his Spotrac's 5 to 6. Like Josh Jacobs is probably worth 10 million,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
the guy's
easily.
Yeah.
Barkley, if he's not injured, I would
Mhm.
say he's definitely worth the 10 million, but he's such a high
That
injury
prone.
risk. You have to give him like a 5 million with 5 million in incentives kind of deal.
I was gonna say, and then
Yep,
Rob
that's what I
makes
was
a
about to
beautiful
say.
point here.
So staying the high volume carries from what was. Yeah, that's exactly what I was
Yeah.
alluding to, Rob. Is that dual back that you need that in your offense because you know, we see this age, right? It's all passing offense, right? It's the running backs are almost becoming obsolete. You know, we saw the market diminish greatly last year, and we even had high priced, running backs even tweeting about it, be like, hey, these guys need to get paid. You know, our lives matter too. You know what I mean? Type of thing. You know what I mean? But now we see that when we go to the playoffs, it's not sustainable to have no running backs or have these third string or weak running backs on your team and you passing the ball all the time. You know, you're not going to win anything. You're not going to
It
get to the
becomes predictable at passing the ball all the time.
It's really predictable. And look
Go
at
ahead. Dan.
yeah, I was going to say, look at the Super Bowl. You have two pretty good running backs. You got McCaffrey and you got Pacheco. You know what I mean? So you need a running game for your offense to keep defenses honest, or else they can key in on one part. If you're going to go one dimensional when it goes to offense, defenses are too smart for that. There's too much game tape. You know what I mean? One game it might work for you, the next game's not, because defenses are going to key into that, and it's not going to be sustainable.
I think Mike Eckler's at 7.2, so he's probably more feasible because he doesn't have to be an every down guy too in Green Bay, but he could be if you need him to be. Same thing in Chicago where we have a little luxury of money. I thought a great comment Cole Kmet made yesterday, and he was talking about Fields, but that applies here. Because they were talking about, would you be upset if Fields left and this, that, and the other? But his comment applies to this and anything else with the NFL. He's like, it's like I'd be upset because he's my friend, but at the end of the day, if they can find someone who's just as good or even a touch better or even just the same level but cheaper, they will always go with that, and that's business.
Yep.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing with the running back rooms because look at the draft is. I think the reason why running back money got big is for a while there in the draft, the running back draft was crap, right? You might got one guy a year. Now we're getting 2, 3, 4 guys a year that produce. Montgomery was a later round pick, and look how he's producing.
That's what I was going to allude to.
And it's changed the flow that now there's an abundance of good running backs coming out of the draft every year. There's at least 3 to 4 to 5 that are more than serviceable, especially now you add in the two-headed monster attack. So guys aren't expected to be 4 down backs anymore to carry 100% of the load. So it's extending them out a little bit as well. So that depressed the pay. Because back in the day when you didn't have a lot coming out, it made sense to pay AP the Brinks truck. But now you don't have to pay a guy the Brinks truck because you know what? I can go get a guy like the Bears did last year in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, Roschon Johnson, and he's going to be all the production I need and then some for the next 4 or 5 years cheaply.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That's exactly what I was going to allude to. Is that this running back market is crashing because you're getting not just guys that can fill in the lineup, but guys that are starting and doing well in your 4th, 5th, 6th rounds. And why, from a business standpoint, would you want to invest all that money into a position when you can get it super cheap off these later rookie contracts? It'd just be stupid to hand these guys this kind of money when you can put it into different positions now.
Yeah,
especially drafting in the 5th round too. It's cheaper.
Yep.
Cheaper.
And I think honestly, Eckler goes back to the Chargers. I think they franchise tag him, and both parties agree because I don't think it would happen if Staley was still the coach, but now that Jim Harbaugh's there, I think Eckler has more of an incentive to stay with the Chargers and, ride that out.
And this list, of course, some of these guys we know are never going to see free agency. Like Saquon might never see it. Josh Jacobs may never see it. But, we look at this list, and I want to bring it up because Ken definitely took the time to make it. But, and we can debate these guys, but look at these guys. LT was in the league for quite a long time. AP forever. Derrick Henry's been here forever. Edgerrin James played, almost a decade?
Sean Alexander was good for a while.
Holmes.
LaShawn McCoy, Frank Gore played like God forever. A lot of these guys, the older guys, Marshawn Lynch, is over a decade. These guys all played over a decade. The funny thing about LT, though, and here's the funny thing about LT, and I don't know, we can always debate order, but I remember when LT set that touchdown record, and what was interesting? 2 years removed from that, he was completely out of the league.
Yeah.
That's how fast he left the league.
But LT also had a couple of injuries that he had dealt with too.
Yeah.
So I think, and that was again back in the workhorse era of running backs. So him getting hit damn near every play didn't do anything for his longevity.
To be
LT was in there when it wasn't a passing league yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was more catered toward the running back, and that's what helped his market stay as long as it did. And he's a phenomenal player, but like Ken, the Packer fan alluded to, he dealt with injuries.
Oh yeah, because I loved LT, especially on that playoff run where Phillip Rivers tore his ACL there. I was expecting them to be the ones going for the Super Bowl that year, and LT I thought deserved it, but the injuries started creeping up on everybody that year.
Oh yeah.
But what's amazing is like Adrian Peterson, like Frank Gore, those guys. Think about it, they just retired like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Frank
AP still want to play? I heard.
Yeah, Frank Gore still wants to play. Frank Gore,
isn't he the last player to get an MVP other than a quarterback?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, look, the LT is going to be first ballot. Frank Gore is going to be first ballot.
The AP is definitely going to be first ballot.
They don't make guys like them anymore that stay in the league that long. But a couple of guys do. Forte was in for over a decade. He got paid in Chicago, but he doesn't get the credit. He'll never be a Hall of Famer, but he earned his nickname Workhorse. And I think you want more running backs like him that are going to give you 10 years at a David Montgomery is going to be the same thing. Montgomery, he's on his second contract and he's not slowing down. And, he's 5 years in the league now. I think he can make 10 years and be very productive for all 10 years. Montgomery was a great draft pick back in the day. The Lions did well by getting him for what they got him for the Bears. They got him for $6 million a year. And he's worth every penny for them. So I think that's the other thing with the running back market. You can see a guy like David Montgomery and the impact he had for Detroit this year. Now Jahmyr Gibbs is probably going to take over as their number one. But Montgomery is a guy who's going to play out next 5 years and be highly productive, and he's not flashy. He just goes and works.
Especially with that offensive line. The offensive line moves bodies, you know what I mean? So it helps him have a productive year, and it helps him keeps him clean from getting hits, so he definitely can flourish and play multiple years behind that big old offensive line.
John makes a good point here, and I often ask myself, WWJD, what would John Dorn do? What would John Dorn do? But, John makes a good point here, but I would say that's a 90% correct, 10% not correct, because there are running backs who just make your offensive line better. Like Derrick Henry, Saquon, Derrick Henry, they make your offensive line better because of what they can do. David Montgomery, because of what they can do after contact. They make offensive lines better. So, I mean, there are a couple running backs we've seen that if you have a offensive line that might be struggling a little bit and you bring in the right running back, Bijan can make your offensive line better just because of what he does after contact.
Aaron Jones can help you.
And then there's offensive lines that are better at blocking at run than passing, right? You know what I mean? So Like, for example, the Bears. The Bears, when they had Montgomery and Herbert together, their O-line was better at blocking for running than it was for passing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
now they're about equal, but yeah.
Now it's more balanced with the Bears, but I'm just using that as an example. Like, Bears were really good at the run block rate than it was from the pass block rate.
Well, I hate to do this, Isaac, but I'm going to feed to a John Dorn troll argument here, just so I can segue as we're talking about running backs. And we're going to talk about John Dorn's favorite running back for about the last 15 minutes of the show, and that's this guy right here, Justin Fields. We know we had to talk about eventually because, he just calls Justin a running back. And, of course, the conversation, and we'll get into this as we go on over the weeks. Right now I try not to as much because we've heard this, the Justin Fields, Caleb Williams thing for 2 months now. But last week, Kevin Warren, who's the president and CEO of the Bears, said, I'm glad Justin is on the roster, right? He's happy that we have Justin. He had more to say on Justin. Kevin Warren, who's basically Ryan Poles' boss, said, I'm happy we have this guy, and this guy's going to do great things here. I don't think Justin's going anywhere. You got the guys like John Dorn who'll say, oh, no, that means we're going to trade him because he said that because they're trying to make it worth more for Atlanta to make that trade.
I was about to say, but that sounds kind of almost like when the Giants had OBJ and they came right out. We didn't just sign him to this big deal just to trade him this offseason, and that's exactly what they did. Sometimes, Packer
fans are automatically going to go to they're getting rid of him because you guys don't want to see the.
No, he can stay. I hope you keep him.
Yeah, I hope you keep him too.
You just trade the Falcons first draft pick. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. You really would rather see Justin Fields in Atlanta than in Chicago if Chicago fixes the wide receiving room and fixes the offense, because we all know, we've all seen what he can do, and you don't want him doing that to you.
I've seen what he can do against us, and that's give us turnovers.
He hasn't given you. See, we can get into the stupid trash talk stuff because I could say guess who Brett Favre's all-time favorite receiver was? Brian Urlacher. So we can all do that. And let me remind you of something Peyton Manning once said.
Packers suck.
Okay, that's all I need to say about that. But look, Justin Fields, though, this whole debate thing, I think Kevin Warren coming out and saying this, I'm taking this more as we're keeping him because we just also freed up the cap space. And I know we've talked about a little bit, but I look at it this way. When I look at the quarterback situation at Chicago, Fields versus Caleb Williams, right? I have to look at it this way. If I bring Caleb Williams to Chicago, what does he make better? Does he make my wide receiving room better as it is today?
I think he does.
Yeah.
Actually, I think he does. There's an article or there's a mentioning, and it's Bears writers that are writing this, that they could draft Caleb and keep Fields.
And keep Justin. I've seen that too. But I don't know how Caleb can already improve on the number one PFF graded duo in the league being Fields and DJ Moore. And there's no other receivers after DJ Moore, so he can't make that better. He's not going to improve your running room. He's not going to improve your O-line. He's not going to improve your tight ends. However, if I draft Marvin Harrison Jr., my wide receiving room just got better. My running back room got better. My O-line got better.
If you look at USC, right? Look, I'm a USC fan. I admit that. It may be a little bit of homerism for Caleb, but if you look at how Caleb plays and look how USC plays, right? It was mostly the defense's fault for what Caleb's downfall. Caleb is scoring 45 points in a game. He's basically doing Aaron Rodgers type numbers and watching the defense give it right back. It's almost like what Aaron Rodgers had to deal with. You know what I mean?
Okay, I'll go with that. But so did Jay Cutler had that same issue. But oh, Jay Cutler sucked, but he was
No,
putting up
look,
45 a
Caleb-
game, and the defense was giving up 52.
No,
So, I
Caleb
mean,
Caleb
same
is better
thing.
than Jay Cutler because Caleb can actually maneuver in the pocket and throw
No,
on the
Isaac,
dot.
I'm taking
Yeah.
I'm saying your argument there is like, well, he puts up points. He's good because he puts up points, but the defense sucked. Well, Jay Cutler put up points and the defense sucked. But
Well,
you guys, oh, Jay Cutler sucked. No,
That's
he put
that's
up
the
points.
thing though. That's the thing though. Your defense doesn't suck, and your
Mhm.
O line, like just like you alluded to earlier, O line
You're-
doesn't suck
Yeah,
anymore.
but you're still
in the
you're
past.
missing the argument, Isaac. My argument is what you're saying is, well, Caleb is going to be good because he was good, but his defense sucked. But when you guys talked about Jay Cutler, oh, he sucked, but he was putting up points and his defense sucked too. So either he puts up points and his defense sucks and he's good, or he puts up points and his defense sucks and he sucks. It can't be. It has to be one or the other. Is what I'm saying.
Didn't
How were
suck.
Caleb's
On the ice.
turnovers?
Yeah.
What
Was
now?
that-
How were Caleb's turnovers? Did he
Cutler's
have quite a
turnovers?
few of them?
Who,
Well,
talk about Caleb?
Yes.
Oh well, Caleb. The only game where he like really sucked on turnovers was against Notre Dame. Notre Dame turned him over 3 times, and he admitted he had a shitty ass game that game.
Every
But
team
for
has
the
a
most
shitty game,
part-
though.
Yeah, for the most part, Caleb, you know what I mean, he doesn't really turn the ball over.
Mhm.
Like he's a guy that protects the ball, and then he extends plays. He extends with his feet, and he can throw on the run. That's another
Hey, real
good thing.
quick, thank you, Linda, for watching. Appreciate you. Sorry, go ahead, Isaac. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, if you want a guy that throws on the run, and Caleb actually is really good at reading defenses.
Mhm.
And
Well, so's Justin
sorry.
and all that stuff. Everything you
I'm
said,
sorry.
Justin
sorry.
does.
Fields doesn't read defenses as
that's
well.
bullshit.
As,
and you know it.
I,
And you know why that's
not
bullshit? You
bullshit.
can't have the success. No, and here's the thing, because that's another thing that it was a comment made by another NFL player. It said, look, the fallacy that Justin Fields can't read a defense is bullshit, because you can't have the success that he's had in a lot of the games last year, especially when he came back from injury, unless you can read defenses.
okay,
That's just a fallacy argument that people make. And you know what? He's right.
Ken, when his first read is not out there, he's kind of a deer in the headlights, and we've seen
No, he's
him.
not.
Yes, he is. We've
he's
seen.
not.
There's plenty of game tape on it. There's plenty of game tape on it. You can watch that. There's YouTube highlights on it, and there's even people that break it down. There's people that even break it down where Fields doesn't see his first read open, and he kind of like, you know what I mean, gets nervous in the pocket, and it leads to sacks. It leads him running out of bounds. It leads him to give it. And you know what he got better at is actually kind of throwing the ball away, which is,
He
you know,
did get better at
at
throwing
first-
the ball away.
yeah. At first he didn't do that. At first he was
See,
taking
this is why I
sacks.
love Packer fans, because Packer fans, it doesn't matter if you're talking about reality. Y'all live in a different set of reality when it comes to a Bears quarterback. And here's the funny thing. I will actually say good stuff about Jordan Love. Packer fans are incapable of giving Fields any kind of comment positively at all.
That's
Because you
bullshit.
Packer
That's
fans, no, that's not bullshit, because here I am listening to all you Packer fans all just pile on how Fields sucks. I'm saying I
never
can
said-
say Jordan Love had a good year. You're
I
telling me
never
right
said
now
Fields
why
sucks.
Fields sucks. He can't read a defense, which we know he can. Mike, the Bear fan, can prove it to you with the videos we've made for
Go back.
Hallis Hall Report.
Go back, watch this show after we get off, and see where I said Field sucks. I never said Field sucks.
I'm not saying that you're
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
Fields sucks, but it's all negative
look.
comments.
Look,
Give me some positive about Fields, Isaac.
Look,
He can
okay,
throw the ball away.
okay.
No,
I've said it many times. Fields is one of the best athletes on the field every time. He's one. Can I say something? Fields is one of the best athletes on the field. I've said that to many Bear fans, and I've talked to many Bear fans about how he struggles with his reads, and there's plenty of tape on that. You know what I mean? He's got a great arm, you know, but the thing is, he has to put it all together, and it's not been there for him.
Slow it
And
down.
I don't know if, and then you're bringing multiple offensive coordinators to try to help him, especially Getsy, one that is worked with Aaron Rodgers, right? And it still is not clicking with Fields somewhere. If it was clicking with Fields, you would see the Bears in the playoffs. You would see us
Isaac,
right next to the
I-
Lions, and you might see it right next to the Packers.
I owe you a little something, Isaac. Hold on. Well said. You're right
What
on a
was
lot
that?
of that. I give
Yeah,
you
It,
the
it was
applause.
it was a
The
clap,
applause.
but it kind of
Yeah.
cut out.
Oh, I could barely hear it.
Yeah. So I mean, look, I mean, I disagree with you on reading defenses because you can't have a lot of the successes that he's had and not be able to read defenses. And that's an easy argument. That's always been a go-to argument for Packer fans when it comes to the Bears. I think one of the biggest points you bring up on Fields is 2 head coaches, 3 OCs. That hasn't helped him. I mean, last year we saw him get out of sacks, and people are like, "Oh my God, how did he not go down?" And he's made some throws. He makes a lot of throws where people are going, "Oh my God." You don't do that kind of stuff if you can't read defenses and know where guys are going. I think the problem, and we do this with all quarterbacks, be it Jordan Love, be it Fields, be it Herbert, be it Danny Dimes, a lot of it, even Cutler back in the day, a lot of interceptions, balls that look wonky. Oh my God, he didn't read the defense is because of timing routes. And timing routes are a big thing, right? And we know they're effective in the NFL. But when they go wrong, we always blame the quarterback. Like I can go back to the game last year, the Bears against the Bucs. The interception pick six by the Buccaneers lineman was a timing route where Fields is supposed to just rainbow the ball over the offensive line, and the tight end was supposed to be there. There was no tight end there, but there was an offensive line or defensive lineman. And it's a pick six, and oh my God, Fields can't read a defense. He sucks. No, it was a timing route where he has to make a blind throw. So we take blind throw interceptions that were timing routes, and we say, oh, well, that's because that quarterback doesn't know how to read a defense. And I think
we heard it with love too. We heard it with love too. Because
I'll tell you one thing.
There were a couple. Go ahead, Isaac.
I was going to say, I'll tell you one thing, Ken, the Bear fan. This has to be the last year with Fields if he doesn't succeed after the season, right? You can't keep kicking the tires. You know what I mean? You can't keep kicking the tires on Fields and saying he's our guy when he's not bringing you anywhere. I mean,
what do you do,
they're
though?
going to give him 2 years. I think, honestly, they're going to give him 2 years, and here's why. Because, A, you've got 2 years left on a rookie deal with him. 2 years, that's going to give Flus 2 more years, and it's giving the new OC 2 years, right? And I think, though, it's not a guarantee 2 years. I think if they don't win at least 9 to 10 games this year, right, they're cleaning house.
You got to make the playoffs.
You got to make the play. Well, in this division, you could. I think you could win 10 games and miss the playoffs. So, but I mean, on Fields, I think yes, it's tough because the other thing about Fields, the whole Fields argument that gets me is this: Fields, all the things you said, Isaac, right? But then they'll come out these same people. Let's say the talking heads that get paid the big money that you and I don't, right? Which is funny because we should probably get the money and they don't need it. But they say same stuff you said, and they'll say, but if Justin goes to Atlanta, he'll be their savior. If he goes to Las Vegas, he's the answer. It's like, well, wait a minute, guys. If he goes to these places and he's going to be the answer, or if he goes to Pittsburgh and now they're going to be a playoff quality team every year because Justin Fields is in the building, then why would you get rid of him in Chicago?
That says something about Justin, though.
The other argument about that is a quarterback change sometimes is good for a player. Like Drew Brees, for instance. Drew Brees could have been the Chargers quarterback, right? He had all the tools to take over for Phillip Rivers, but a change to the Saints made him a Super Bowl champion, right? So sometimes a change is good for a player, whether we love that player or not. A player changes to a different location, he balls out.
I hate to do this, guys, but we got about 40 seconds. Ken, you want to give a shout out to the other shows real quick before we get out of here?
All right. Well, make sure you check us out on either Bill the Packer fan page or the Frozen Tundra Network, where we run a show every Monday and Saturday, 5 Central to 6. And then we obviously have Ken and Ken in the morning every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Central. And Mondays will be on Roku too, along with all the Frozen Tundra Network shows.
And don't forget, because I got like 10 seconds, don't forget on Saturday at 7 p.m. Central and on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Central, Hal's Hall Report on Roku, Facebook, everything else. Guys, we are out of time on our first Roku day. We'll see everyone else tomorrow. Roku, we'll see you on Monday. Peace out. And remember,
He has time.
He's
Off
got
the
him.
left side. Dobbs is there. Leaping grab. Touchdown. Touchdown.